Well, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. I'm so glad you joined me. I've got something very cool on the table. This is something new from Miguron Knives. Now, Miguron Knives is a company that has produced a whole bunch of knives that I really like. But it all started almost 2 years ago. Well, first with the Prayer, but followed up shortly with this. This is the Centurion. This really interesting knife, look at the grind on that, is M390. It is titanium and carbon fiber. It is a big knife. And I really, really like this thing. I've been working with Sam over at Miguron Knives now for almost a year, kind of helping him make choices and name stuff. And recently, he sort of surprised me with the Centurion II. Now, as you can see, the new Centurion is considerably smaller than its original, but he really kept the shape. Really what I liked about this knife, he kept, although it is a slightly simpler blade grind, but he's traded up from M390 to S90V. This is a great knife. This is a whole nother level of excellent. The Centurion II is gorgeous. Look at this, the crushed carbon fiber in that, right? On both sides, a little bit of bolster action going right here. This is just a fantastic pocket knife. For the last year, he's been asking me kind of, which knife would really should be my sort of brand, the standout to my brand. If I'd have known this was coming, this is the one that I would have been pushing for because it is exquisite. Now, the only place to get these, as far as I can tell, is on AliExpress. Miguron has a store there. I'll post a link in the description. You can check them out if you want to. There aren't many left. He didn't make very many. Apparently, working with S90V is sort of a pain in the ass, and so his factory he had issues. Looks like he's going to find a new factory to manufacture these and produce a second generation of the second Centurion, and I'm really looking forward to that. Let's talk about what you get. Well, as I mentioned, you get S90V, and I love the grind lines on this blade, right? It is really well suited for hand. It's perfectly fitted to my hand, which means if you've got hands that are my size or smaller, this knife is going to fit you very well. It's relatively lean. It's got a nice titanium backspacer, milled titanium clip. It is a frame lock, as you can see, and we're locked up just about 45%. It does have a steel lock bar insert. It says S90V right there on the blade, right there. Other than that, the blade is clean. No billboarding, no nothing. The pivot has his laser-etched M for Miguron, right? But other than that, it is very clean. It's a very straightforward knife, and yet just elegant. These are about $200. $200 for S90V, and this build quality? Yeah, okay, count me in. The pivot is T8. The body screws are T8. It looks like the pocket clip is a T6. The carbon fiber inlays, you can feel them a little bit, but it's even all the way around, which makes me feel like that was sort of on purpose. Even on the bolster here, it does stick up a little bit here at the edge of the bolster, but that's because it's basically a bolster lock. It's really interesting the way they did that. I really like this thing. The action is superb. It's thumb studs only, and of course they work beautifully. Let's take a look at the detent. Yep, you can pop it out. Detent rating, well, if 1 means the knife just falls out of the handle when you do this, and 10 is you can't open it, this is probably a 6. It's just stiff enough to have plenty of pop. I really like that. I don't know if you can tell, but I really like this knife. It's just well done. Now, there are some things, like I said, it's sort of basic in a couple of ways, like, for instance, the cutouts for the lock bar on the outside rather than the inside. It's a very simple backspacer. He did that because, every little step adds cost. This thing coming in, I think, about $209 for these materials. I don't want to say he cut corners. He absolutely did not, but he definitely made some choices to keep the price down, and I appreciate that. I think we all do, right? It's just a really nice knife. Going back to its original, you can see where he sort of simplified the design, right? This has got these milled out spaces up here. It's got, milling back here at the backspacer, right? Other than that, you can absolutely see the lineage. This is a good knife. This is a great knife. I know it's smaller. I shouldn't be in love with it, but I absolutely am. Let's take a look at what you get. We line that up. You get a little over 3 1/4 of cutting on 3 1/2 inches of S90V. The grip area from behind that swell, you're looking at all the way down here to the end is 3 3/4, which is why it fits me so perfectly. Now, with this swell, if this had been any sharper, it might have forced my hand into a funny spot, but my pinky lands right on that flat, and it feels really, really good. It's got a thumb ramp right here for your thumb to push into if you're pushing. There is no jimping. You could have done with a little, I suppose, but I haven't needed it yet. Because it's S90V, and it seems to be done well, it has cut everything that I've put it to without needing any sharpening, and I doubt very much that I'll have to sharpen it anytime soon. That is one of the advantages of S90V. The disadvantage, of course, is that it can be a little chippy. I haven't had that problem yet, but and it can also be hard to sharpen, which, again, I haven't had to do, so I'm not sure. My experience with other S90V, and based on the cutting I've done with this, is that the factory got the heat treat right, which is good. The knife itself, from end to end, is just exactly 8 inches, right? Closed profile is really very nice. The length on this thing closed is 4 1/2, and of course the closed profile, because there's just thumb studs and no flipper, is really nice. We're coming in a little over 1 1/4 inches. This is an excellent carry. Whereas the original, as you can see, was considerably larger and a little clunky in the pocket because of how low the pocket clip was mounted. On the slightly scaled down version, right, it just rides the pocket better. Let's do some size comparisons. With some knives you may be or may not be familiar with, but we have to assume. Here it is against the Rat 1. As you can see, it's a little bit shorter than the Rat 1, but you get considerably more cutting area. And here it is against the Rat 2. Right. It's just a right-sized pocket knife. It really is. What else can we compare it against that's on the table? Oh, here it is against the Orion Solaris. Our friend David over at Blade Banter. These knives are very, very similar in length. I love this button lock. And finally, here it is against the Mini Presidio 2, which is, oh, my dog is throwing up. A good analogy to the bug out. As you can see, it's just a little bit bigger than that. It's reasonably light, although there is a little milling. Interestingly enough, there's milling on the lock side. Well, that's fascinating, but none on the show side. Huh. Thanks, dog. Hope you're okay. Pet ownership. Constant source of entertainment and joy. In the end, this is not going to be a long review because it doesn't need to be. This is a fantastic knife from Miguron. I'm happy that he's going to release a second edition of the Centurion II, and I'm hoping that he gets that out to White Mountain and a couple of other retailers that you may be familiar with. Certainly gets it onto his own website. I do know that there's going to be the thumb stud version and a flipper thumb stud version, which is coming down the pipe. These come in blue CF, black CF, and this gorgeous red and black CF. You know, your choice. What you choose is what you get. He is talking about perhaps moving back to M390 for the next run, just because S90V is such a pain in the butt to work with. So my feeling is, if you're not afraid to order off AliExpress, I know it's got a bit of a reputation, but much like Tucson, he has his own store there. If you're willing to order off AliExpress, I'd do it, because why not get this in sort of its peak form? M390 is going to be great. The M390 on this one's fantastic. But S90V is kind of special, particularly at this price. And I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. This is the Miguron Knives Centurion II, one of a string of excellent releases from Miguron Knives this year. It has been an absolute pleasure and joy to watch the stuff that they're bringing to the world. Knife nuts like me get tons of stuff to enjoy from them. I hope you've enjoyed this look at it. As I said, there's a link to it down in the description. Check it out if you get a chance. Hope you guys are having a great day. We'll see you next time.